right now.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. I am Wendy Myers, the Director of Counseling at the Cancer Caring Center, along with Jennifer Kem, who's our Director of Development and Liaison Manager, and our Executive Director, Rebecca Whitlinger. We want to welcome you to Radical Hope Night 2. For those of you that were not able to attend last week, we are grateful that you've chosen to spend this evening with us. We want to let those of you that are not familiar with the Cancer Caring Center know that we have been a local nonprofit charity for over 30 years, providing free emotional support to cancer survivors and their loved ones. We have been located in Bloomfield, Pennsylvania for over all of these years, all these 30 years, but have been providing all of the services virtually since the beginning of COVID. Jen is going to bring up our flyer. So these are all of our services that we have. We consider the Cancer Caring Center a hub for all of the cancer resources in the area, as well as emotional support through our 32 monthly support and wellness groups currently being offered virtually, as well as individual, couples, and family counseling. We also have the support of Reed Smith Legal Services to offer free wills for anyone, power of attorneys, and advance directives to families with cancer. All of our services are professionally led by individuals who have worked within the medical or mental health fields. Before we begin, we're going to go over some Zoom etiquette as we did last week. And for those of you that are new this week, just to kind of, because we are recording, Jen is going to kind of explain some of our tips, as I might say. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Wendy. Hi, everybody.
You're
we are recording. I just wanted to let you know, I'm Jennifer Kem, and from the Cancer Caring Center, as Wendy shared. We are recording, so, and I would appreciate if everybody stays on mute. So I'll mute all. In fact, I can just do that right now because we've had some new folks coming in. And so the way the night will work is we will have the individual speakers speak, and then Deborah will come in between the speakers to share a little bit about radical hope from each story. But I also just wanted to share with you, you may have questions, but what we would like to have happen is for you to wait to the end. You are able to write your questions in chat if you like, so you don't forget them, because we have a lot of speakers. So they'll be stored there, and then we can ask at the end of everyone's presentation. So we have a lot. We have 8 individuals sharing their incredible stories. So we'll have a lot of material to go over. And then if you can also, if you just want to ask a question privately, you can just chat specifically to Wendy or I, and we can answer your questions. And I think that's it. Thanks for being here.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jen, for that. So to recap last Wednesday evening session, we had our first night of Radical Hope with Deborah Nozick, who is a certified Radical Remission Hope Remission and Hope teacher and coach. We were blessed to have her present the 10 healing factors that were discussed in Kelly Turner's book, Radical Remission, and her latest updated version of Radical Hope. We had much appreciation for Deborah's presentation, many positive feedback emails that Jen and I got over the week. From those that found these healing factors to be a great source of hope for improving their quality of life, and even maybe perhaps making some of these changes that could possibly, keep cancer in remission. Tonight is equally as special to us, if not more special, because we have 8 Pittsburgh thrivers who have graciously agreed to share their cancer stories with all of us to inspire and give further hope that they have gone on to live their lives filled with joy. So I'm going to start this off by reading a poem that I'm sure all of you recognize. It's been a poem that I have kind of grown up in the oncology world with as a young social worker to a seasoned social worker, as I like to refer to myself now. And I just want you all to kind of have this poem in your mind when you listen to these stories, because I think that all of their stories are kind of the essence of this, right? And it brings out my latest thing is kind of talking about resiliency. And resiliency is something we need in the world right now, regardless of cancer, with COVID and everything else that we may, face as challenges. So the poem goes like this. It's called What Cancer Cannot Do. Cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith It cannot destroy peace. It cannot kill friendship. It cannot suppress memories. It cannot silence courage. It cannot invade the soul. It cannot steal eternal life. And it cannot conquer the spirit. So with that being said, we're going to start out with our first thriver of the night. His name is John Nicotra. And John is near and dear to my heart. I've known him for close to over 13 years. And he actually is a survivor of head and neck cancer. And John is on the call tonight, but John, due to his surgeries, he's gotten amazingly great at communicating. John, can you say hi to everyone? Are you able to unmute and say hello to everyone? I know he's here. So maybe we'll wait and see if he can unmute. I have the privilege of reading his story because it is hard for him to speak. He's had both of his cheeks have been removed, and he's had skin grafts put on them for all of the surgeries that he's had. And so him and I met this weekend, and he wrote out his story for me to read for him. So I'm going to do that for you, and hopefully he'll be able to comment a little bit along with Deborah. His cancer journey. Over the 18-year span of 1998 to 2016, on 13 different occasions, suspicious growths inside my mouth were found to be cancerous, resulting in 12 surgeries, multiple treatments of radiation and chemo, and 2 flaps, 1 on each cheek, were required. Since 2016, routine checkups and scans have been negative. Early on in our marriage, my wife and I agreed we would share with our 5 children any of our serious health issues. There are 3 primary factors that have been critical in my battle with cancer: faith, family, and a positive attitude. Faith in Jesus Christ, I have and continue to trust in him with my life. As a result of my battle with cancer, I have believed and continue to believe he's capable of performing miracles even today. I believe I am one of those miracles. My family and I also had complete faith in the doctors and other medical professionals who were involved in my treatment. We discovered trusting the medical professionals helped soften the doubts and concerns we had. Family. My family and close friends have supported us through the many treatments and recoveries. Without the love of my family and friends, our struggles would have been much more difficult. Knowing we were loved by many and they'll be with you through the dark days as well as the good days is very comforting. Attitude. Charles Swindoll says, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we handle it. A positive attitude has been critical in my success in overcoming the difficult times I've encountered since 1998. Besides the battle with cancer, my family and I have lost 2 sons and grandsons. One, 24, and the other 35 were suddenly taken to heaven. In 2018, my wife also went to her heavenly reward. The faith of my remaining family and our positive attitudes are very instrumental in our meeting the daily challenges and opportunities we face. We all choose to handle difficulties in different ways. We decide what's best for us, for our spouse and our children. How we handle our diversity can positively or negatively affect those most dear to us. It's our choice, as Don Porter wrote, don't waste your cancer. Through my experiences with cancer and other life-altering lessons I've lived through, I've learned I am stronger than I ever imagined. I've learned I'm loved by many more people than I ever dreamed of. Most importantly, I've learned I am not alone in life's journey because God holds my hand every step of the way. God bless. John, are you able to unmute?
There is one John, Wendy, that I unmuted, but I'm not sure that's the right John because there are 2 Johns.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to our next thriver. And if John, at some point, if we can, if I can communicate with him to see if we can get him unmuted, we will have him say a few words. Okay, so we will move on to our next amazing thriver, which will be Naomi Howard. Naomi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Well, I went from having a clean mammogram, ultrasound, and seeing a breast specialist to being diagnosed 8 months later in April 2009 with stage 4 breast cancer. After finding the lump myself, I ultimately met with a breast surgeon who told me I had an aggressive cancer. That same day, I moved my mother to hospice, and she died that evening. Following her funeral and a medical complication, I too wanted to die. Not right then, but since I thought I was going to anyway, I figured after seeing the Great Wall of China and going to the Spam Festival. But then my husband, John, looked me in the eye and he said, "Naomi, if you will not fight for yourself, will you please fight for me?" And at that point, it was game on. I started all the different treatments, chemo, surgery, radiation, and including a cutting edge at that time, radiation treatment for my liver. I had 3 second opinions and 1/3 opinion out of state when my cancer recurred in 2012. Dr. Google became my friend and also my enemy. I enlisted prayer warriors throughout the world. I started an email blog for communication and also to express my feelings. I asked questions even if I didn't know or understand the question I was asking. I kept notes of all my office visits and notebooks of my reports. I read books. I joined 2 support groups. I found ways through online research on how I could help myself in various ways, such as preventing neuropathy by taking 4 bags of peas to chemo. Remember, this was 11.5 years ago. Things are a little different now, but for $1 a bag, right? Four bags of chemo to 4 bags of peas to chemo for my hands and my feet to prevent neuropathy. I took Claritin and Aleve to avoid the Neulasta bone pain. I used tea tree oil to avoid the splitting and the ridging of my nails. And I ate miso soup to avoid the radiation burns. I walked 2 miles every day and continued to go to the gym. I did Reiki, massage, acupuncture, hands-on healing, and went to healing services. I changed my diet somewhat, and that is actually my ongoing challenge, to be quite honest. Let's see, I subscribed to free cancer magazines for information. I changed and added to my vitamins and supplements. I became involved in the cancer community, such as the Cancer Caring Center. And I continue to challenge the medical system in ways such as not taking off my pants when my pants don't need to come off for the test that's being given. I decided that someone had to be one of those 23 or 25 or 28% who are still alive at 5 years of metastatic cancer. And I decided, why couldn't I be one of those 25 people? I became the person that I wished I had when I was first diagnosed. I have decided to live a generous and fulfilling life. And I have decided that when I die, I will die with my unfinished to-do list pinned on my chest. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Naomi. That's incredibly, it's amazing. I mean, I know your story, but that was awesome. Thank you. Do you have you want to share anything, Deborah?
Unmute myself. Oh my gosh, Naomi, you could have written the book too on the healing factors. I had a hard time keeping up with your story because there were so many parts of the healing factors that you used, like you allowed your husband to help you have a strong reason for living. You did the deepening your spiritual connection. You did the some changes in empowering yourself. You became one of the annoying patients, which is one of the factors, believe it or not. Keeping your pants on, very important. You embraced your social supports by joining this group. You added in some exercise and movement. You got into some of more of the energy modalities like Reiki and massage and healing. You decided using your own intuition, all those different things that you did when you would go for your treatment. So you were using your intuition to do that. Nobody prescribed that for you. Your intuition told you to do that. And you've made a very important decision in your life, which is you are living your life to the fullest now. It's not way long from now. Once something happens, that then you'll be able to have a fulfilling life. You are making a fulfilling life for yourself right now. So good job, Naomi.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Sorry, I'm muted. Fantastic. That's amazing. Next we have Lori.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Arend, and I had a brain tumor, a grade 3 astrocytoma 2 years ago. I did the brain surgery. I was wide awake because of where mine was. It was in the right frontal lobe. And if they didn't have me awake, I might have never walked or talked again because it was in such a critical area. So I had to stay awake for 4.5 hours holding this one doctor's hand, talking the whole entire time. I wasn't allowed to quit talking. I wasn't allowed to quit moving. So they were annoying me and I was annoying them for 4.5 straight hours. But I made it. I got through it. I was in the neuro ICU and I was asking if I could get up and go for a walk. I went around and walked the halls and I came back and I said, why are these halls so short? I said, you need to have a longer walkway. And he said, Lori, we normally don't have people come right out of surgery, brain surgery, and want to go on a walk. So I had to do 2 laps to make it up, to make me happy to get enough walking in right after my surgery. So that was my first really round of knowing that I am an outlier. I just kind of don't fit the area under the curve. I never did fit in. I always was an outlier, always doing silly stuff, off the hook, off the chain, whatever you want to say. So why would my having cancer be any different? So I knew I was going to be annoying and defy all the odds because I didn't fit. I don't want to fit those projected outcomes. I chose not to be the one that with the low blood counts, getting the blood infections, hospitalization, all that stuff that can happen to you while you're getting chemo and radiation at the same time. I just said, I don't want that path. I don't want to go down there. I want to come out of this and prove, mostly to my daughter, who was an oncology nurse, who was warning me about all these things that could happen to me. I thought, there's no way I'm showing her that I'm going to do that. So I came out with very little complications through all that. Sure, my blood count got low. It was critically low a couple of times, but I didn't get an infection or anything like that. I worked every day. I aligned my chemo or my radiation so that I could have it in the afternoon. I worked all day, got my radiation, and then went home and went to bed and started again the next day. So I now have a new saying that one of my friends gives me. She finds me it on plaques, pillows, everything. And it is me. It's a new saying that I say. It says, she believed she could, so she did. And that has kind of been me. If I believe I can do it, you better watch out. I'm going to do it. Now, how it started with me believing that, not all conventional medicine was going to be it. I truly believe, looking back, that I had 2 sessions of cellular expansion hearing. I don't know if people have heard about it or not, but it's kind of like Reiki, the hands off, kind of, they move around your body and you set an intention. And I had one of them on a Thursday. Then I had one the following Thursday. And then I woke up Friday morning with a seizure. So I said, I really do in my heart believe that cellular expansion kind of loosened up that tumor and gave me some signs to say, oh, hey, listen, you have a tumor, you better get this looked at so it doesn't keep growing. And my oncologist to this day tells me that seizure saved my life. because my tumor didn't grow to be, the whole side of my head or anything. So I was very, very lucky. And while I was going through radiation, I had a daily ritual that I had to do. And if I didn't do one piece of it, I was not a wreck, but I wasn't feeling my normal self. I was a little bit more anxious going in, because with the kind of radiation I had, you have to put this mask on. They fit you for this plastic mask, and then they bolt you to the table. So you can't move and you can hardly breathe. And it's very anxiety provoking. So I did this daily ritual. It started with detoxifying music. I find all kind of cool stuff on YouTube. I read spiritual books all about healing with cancer. I met with a nutritionist. I ran to all these support groups, went immediately when I found out I had cancer. I did therapy, started taking more supplements, fish oil, fermented foods, kefir, all kind of good stuff that I heard from the nutritionist. And plus I was doing a lot of this before I had cancer, because I was just getting old and I wanted to start taking care of myself. So I had started on this path of no sugar, no processed food, no McDonald's, things like that, way before my cancer. And as I look back, that was a sign too. It was like, because I was in really good shape when all this hit me. So that's why I think I did really well with the surgery and all that kind of stuff. I healed really quickly. I didn't get down. I recouped real quick. Even my doctors were amazed at how quickly I recovered from a lot of what I had to go through. So I always, and my attitude is I always like to see the positive of something. For me, it just motivates me to go more. When I get towards the negative and have bad thoughts and see everything as an Eeyore, I call people that are like that kind of Eeyores. I can't do that. It ruins me. It makes me so unproductive. And I see it every day in my work, that I work with people that, have issues with that. And I can't go there. I can't join in that party with them. So I stay out I water my wild. I heard that this week too, in one of the affirmations that I get sent to me. It's like, it's okay to be wild. You can water your wild and that'll keep you going. So I like that one too. These have all served me very well. And I beefed some of them up, the health things, and I've knocked some of them down. I used to be really active, but now my balance isn't so great. So I can't bike as long as I used to. But when I go and tell my oncologist and start with oh, woe is me, I can only go 5 miles on my bike. He's like, Lori, there's people that can't go any miles on their bike. He said, so you're not doing your 25, you're down to 5. You're doing good. Keep it up. So I have that constant support too, with my family, my friends, my faith, my own attitude. And I have a really good oncology crew that I just absolutely love. So I too am not done. I'm going to continue to be an outlier, continue to defy the odds. I want to be one and done. That's my theme. I don't want to go through all this crap 14, 15 times surgeries. I don't want any of that. My theory is I want to be one and done. So I'm going to do my best to keep it that way. Thank you, everyone, for letting me share.
Lori, I've been getting messages that you're a badass.
Somebody must know me personally.
That's amazing. And I am going to steal your slogan, water your wild. That's unbelievable. I love it.
That's because I
So
am.
cool.
My kids call me crazy. I'm the crazy grandma. I'm like, I love it. I love being crazy grandma.
It's working for you. It's working.
It is.
Deborah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a few things to share.
Yes.
Deborah, you're up.
I'm on. Yeah, you go, girl. You are a wild one. And, again, interweaving all the different healing factors. Somehow your intuition brought you to all the different healing factors too. To look at you today, you would never know that you went through what you went through 2 years ago. You empowered yourself. You released your suppressed emotions and said, I'm going to increase my positive emotions. You did do some changing in your diet, gave up the McDonald's. That's great. You did do some stuff in the herbs and supplements area. You empowered yourself by getting this team of medical practitioners together with you. You deepened your spiritual connection. You have a lot of strong reasons for living. I mean, you had to prove to your oncological nurse daughter that you could do this. And, for family, you want to be there with them and enjoy them. So you have a lot of strong reasons for living. You also became involved in this kind of a group that gives you a lot of support. And even before this happened, you were very much the shaker and mover. So much, as you said, you could really see a difference that you were in pretty good shape before you had this happen. So that helped you literally get up and walking just like minutes after your surgery, which led everybody to be in total awe of you. So again, you may or may not have had the book, but you've been doing it. You've been doing it too, girl. You keep it up. And again, when we read the book, it says this is a lifelong process. It's not you do something and then you drop it. You just keep building on this, and you have definitely been building for quite a while now.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's amazing. Okay, so we will move over to Wendy for Wes's story.
All right, I'm back on here, and Wes is an amazing gentleman. I had the privilege to meet at a large fundraising event for PanCan, which is a national support organization for pancreatic cancer. And the one thing about Wes is that he has a handlebar mustache, and it's so unique and just draws you in. And just a lovely gentleman. I met him, and I also met his wife at this event, and we started to chat a little bit, and he tells me this amazing story that he has survived pancreatic cancer for 15 and a half years. So of course he was somebody that really I thought, oh, we've got to reach out to and have come on here. So I talked to Wes, and he was, fortunate to enough to join us with the planning parts of this. But in the last couple of weeks, he's been in and out of the hospital, but not due to cancer. It's been due to his cancer with the pancreatic cancer. He had a Whipple procedure and has a lot of scar tissue. And over the years, he has some issues with that. And unfortunately, he ended up in the hospital yesterday with some infection issues. But he's stable today. He's doing well. But it would be a lot to come on this. We appreciate everybody's time, but to come on from a hospital room would be probably asking a little too much. So he was, though, able to actually email me his story because he felt really badly. He really wanted to be on here. And so he wrote his story down so that I told him I would share. His name is Wes Semple, in case you all know. You might have come across him even. And so he does help facilitate a pancreatic cancer support group. So his story is, in early March of 2005, I went to my doctor because I had a rash on my chest. They gave me Benadryl and cortisone cream. I went back because I was getting no relief. It was on a Friday and they did some blood work. I received a phone call from my doctor the following Tuesday and was told to pack a bag and go straight to the hospital. They did an endoscope on Wednesday and set a surgery date for Friday. On March 25th, 2005, I spent 6.5 hours in the OR with 2 surgeons. A couple of days later, I was told I had pancreatic cancer, and thus the journey began. I spent 28 days in the hospital after my Whipple surgery with no food for 21 days of the stay. After discharge from the hospital, I started to go for chemotherapy and 6 weeks of radiation. It has been a unique journey. I have been blessed that in March of 2020, I celebrated 15 years from my original diagnosis. Yes, March 25th, 2005 was a Good Friday. So that's Wes's journey. And anybody who meets him, he really is kind of a ray of hope and a ray of sunshine. And for all of you that know, most of us know a lot about pancreatic cancer and that it is, a very aggressive cancer. So to have this story, hopefully just in and itself inspires hope. And I would love to have Deborah's thoughts on Wes, please.
Sorry. Okay. I love Wendy's word resilient again. Talk about resiliency. To have all that happen 15 and a half years ago and still be here today to be able to write that beautiful story. Again, I'm guessing that you're applying a lot of the healing factors, either inadvertently or inadvertently. And, again, I wish you real well. 15 and a half years is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, again, there are miracles And I think it's important to remember there are miracles, no matter how serious the diagnosis. And you're another example, Wes, of believing the diagnosis, but not the prognosis. You're a really good example of that. So
Absolutely.
keep up the good work.
Great. Thanks, Deborah. Wonderful.
So now we go, our next incredible story is Chris Needles. And she has been a personal friend for many years. I don't even know how long, but I am grateful to know you. And I dubbed her the walking miracle, but I'll let Chris tell you her story.
It's 15 years, Jen, that we've known each other.
That's right. Wow.
I was diagnosed in October of 2004 with triple negative breast cancer. And I was 40, no risk factors anywhere, no family history anywhere. And on a fluke, I read something in the paper that said, go for a free screening. And I remembered to call and do it. And at that appointment, the doctor said, you need to get a mammogram. I was like, okay, give me the phone number. And he said, no, you're walking down the hall now to do it. And the technician knew immediately that it was not a good outlook, but said, the doctor would call me. Called me the next day and brought me in, told me that, he was pretty sure that it was going to be a cancerous tumor. And my options were a needle biopsy or a lumpectomy. And I looked at him, and it was on a Thursday afternoon. I looked at him and I said, you're taking it out. Like, we're not waiting. So Monday morning, I went in, had a lumpectomy done. On Wednesday, he called me and said, yes, it's cancerous. Your next options are to get your lymph nodes taken and tested and everything, and then we'll start chemo. I was like, okay, when can you do the lumpectomy or do the lymph nodes? And he said, well, we can do it next Monday. I said, okay. So the next Monday I went in, had lymph nodes taken. I had 18 positive lymph nodes out of 31 that they took. And they said, you're definitely facing chemo and radiation. So found a good oncologist that I liked and trusted very much. Have 4 children. And I was like, this can't sideline me too long. We're a pretty active family. So on, I had 6 treatments every 3rd week. And after I went to treatment, I went to an exercise class. I would leave the chemo room, drive to my exercise class. And when I started radiation, I live about 2 miles from the hospital where the radiation was done. And I said to myself, you're walking to at least 2 of these every single week, because it was good for me mentally. It was good for me physically. And I just kept that up. And after I finished all of those treatments, I actually got really more involved in walking, trained to do a couple of the Avon walks for breast cancer, which is 39 miles. So you do a marathon on Saturday, sleep in a tent. I don't know what drove me to do that. And then you get up the next morning and do a half marathon. But I did 2 of those. And then in October of 2007, going in for my 3-year checkup, just on not really a fluke, but on a whim, my oncologist said, hey, they're coming out with a new breast MRI. And I think you'd be a good person to do it for me. Just, so I can get some statistics going and everything. And I'm very thankful that he did it. They saw a shadow in my lung, which would never have been seen on a mammogram. So seeing the shadow, they said, we need to do some testing and find out what's going on. We're able to get enough of that and said, it is breast cancer in your lung. So I'm now metastatic triple negative breast cancer. And they, with my oncologist, he wanted to use a certain medication, but he had to do a brain MRI before he could do that. So I was like, yeah, no problem. Went in for a brain MRI. The day before Thanksgiving, 2007, he called me, knowing that I could take any news over the phone. He didn't really have to worry about that. And he told me that I had a 3-centimeter tumor in my brain. And I was supposed to start chemo on Monday, and he said, you can't start chemo on Monday. I've already made an appointment for you with the head neuro-oncologist, and you can go see him and then come see me and tell me what he says. I was like, okay, fine. So knowing I couldn't do anything over the weekend, I don't worry about things really, because it just makes me feel worse. It won't change a situation. I went away with my husband for the weekend, actually. We were hiking, swimming, having fun. Monday morning, saw the neuro-oncologist, and he said, well, Dr. Geyer told me that you will probably say we can operate. And I looked at him and I said, yep, I didn't eat breakfast. When can you operate? And he looked at me like I had about 7 heads. But he left, checked his calendar. He came back in and said, I could put you in tomorrow morning. I said, sign me up, I'll be here. And I came home, friend of mine shaved my head and went in for surgery the next morning. And he looked at me, he said, you shaved your head. I said, well, weren't you going to? He said, oh, I was just gonna do the strip where I operate. And I have a scar, back of my head goes from about here down to about here. They took the tumor out, and I did weekly chemo for 11 months and then continued for another 1.5 years of my residual treatment every other week. And after all of that, my oncologist declared that I was NED. I've been NED since, what was that, June of 2010. I have seen all 4 of my children graduate high school. I've seen one daughter get married and have 2 children of her own now. My youngest son is getting married in a 1.5 weeks. And I have so much in my life to be thankful for. Jen, Kim. I always like to tell people, you find your tribe, because they are there as friends, supporters, you know, your wall. You know, you can call them, you can cry with them, you can laugh with them, you can, you know, talk about anything or nothing. And Jen is probably, she embarrasses me all the time, so I figure play back here. Another thing I always like to tell people is we all have courage. And sometimes you have to really look for it. But to me, I have a slogan for courage, and that is continuing onward under rigorous and grueling experiences. And that just kind of has become my mantra, because I can continue. I have a lot to continue for, and I'm not giving it up. You know, it's just, to me, family is one of the biggest things to live for. I live my life every day. It might not all be perfect. I don't expect it to be, but I am living every day to the best that I can. I really appreciate Wendy and Jen including me in this.
That's unbelievable, Chris. I mean, I obviously I lived with you through your story, and it's just, I mean, I mean, everything she says is so true. I mean, she's never worried. She's never allowed cancer to steal her peace. You know, she just has, you know, courageously walked through. So we'll turn over to Deborah.
Okay. All right. So all of you are just phenomenal. Now, everybody know what NED is. NED is no evidence of disease. So, wow, Chris, what you've been able to do to just turn all this around is remarkable. And again, it was your deep, deep, deep reasons for living. You were determined to be there for all of your kids' life events. And also the courage that you've had to, at each juncture, to empower yourself with the different medical practitioners, again, getting your A team behind you. And when they would say this to you, yeah, I'm ready to go. And you were completely congruent with it. You were in alignment with that. You believed in it. And and, staying so physically active. Again, it's so funny because with the second book, Radical Hope, that's the new element that Dr. Kelly Turner added to the other 9, which is, exercise and movement. And that was a huge player for you. I mean, my God, if you were doing, what did you say, 39 miles? when
I've
you were
actually
doing,
done a 60-mile also.
okay, unbelievable. And, it has taken, everything you've had to do too has taken a lot of courage. And let's see if I can remember a quote too. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. Oh, I remember. Pretty good, Deb.
That's great.
Okay, good. Yeah, is that good? And I think that's what you've been applying when you said that, it's taken, I like your slogan for courage very much too. And it looks like courage is one of the main factors that's helped you through, and using your intuition too. I mean, you've been doing a lot, all of these different factors. Again, you could, so far, everybody that we've been speaking to has been doing the factors without realizing you're doing them. You're doing them. So again, you keep up the good work too, girl.
Thank you.
You go, girl. Okay.
Sounds good. So now we're going to move on to Bob Shaffrey. Bob, I have known for probably, oh goodness, over 25, probably 24, 23 years. And from my original support group at Passman Hospital many years ago, both I know Bob and Frenchie, who will be speaking after Bob. And they are just amazing stories and have inspired so many, including myself. So we're happy to have Bob. Welcome.
Hey, hi, Wendy. And I say hi to John and Frenchie. I haven't seen you guys in a few years. Hope you're doing well and your golf game's doing well. And we're happy to be on this side of the grass, huh? Okay. So it was May of 1995 when I went to donate blood, and as I've done many times in the past, and they prick your finger and they put that little drop in the saline tube, and it's supposed to sink to the bottom. Mine floated. And the nurse said to me, "I'm sorry, Mr. Schaffer, you cannot donate blood. You should go to your doctor and get this checked." So I made an appointment, went to my doctor. He took some tests, my primary care doctor. He sent me to a hematologist oncologist, Dr. Shogun. And he ran some tests, and I got a phone call, I think it was like June 3rd. And he said, "You've either got chronic lymphocytic leukemia or multiple myeloma or Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia." It's the same family of a blood cancer. So he confirmed later it was a Waldenstrom's. So my wife and I, but this was back before the internet, we went down to the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center and the library, Pitt's library, and looked that up. And we found out the survivor rate was 2 to 5 years, and it's an incurable cancer. So with that, we moved on from there, and I said to the doctor, "What are my options?" He said, "You can either do nothing, you can get a standard treatment that had been used for this particular cancer, Caramdacil, or you can take something called 2-CDA, which was a new drug that had just been worked on by MD Anderson for chronic lymphocytic leukemia." And I said, "What would you do?" He said, "I'd take that." I said, "Okay." So I had a Hickman port installed, and a nurse came out to my house and put this bag on that I wore 24/7 for 7 days in a row. And I remember I was still working at the time. I was 56. So I wore a Hawaiian shirt to work so people wouldn't know that I had this on. I didn't want to tell people that I had cancer in my workplace. So this went on. I had 4 months of this. One 7-day period, and then my counts would go down and then they come back up. He gave me another one. And this took place all the way through till October. And during this time, I played golf and jogged. I've been an avid jogger many years. I was able to do some jogging. But in October, after the fourth one, all my counts went south and they never came back. And he stopped giving me the treatment. And I remember my hemoglobin was down to 6.0. That's normally around 12 or 13. I could only walk half a block. And it was a dire time. But he also gave me 20 units of red blood cells during this time from October to February to keep me with enough energy. And in February, I went in and he said, I think your counts are coming back. And sure enough, by April of 96, my cancer, the IgM, which is the marker that they look for, entered the normal range. And I have been cancer-free since April 1996. And my mother had put my name on a prayer list at church. And I think that had a huge impact on this, plus the fact that we caught it early. And I was an advocate for my own, case. And I think that was an important factor. Plus, I had a very aggressive treatment from his doctor. He lost his mother to cancer. So I thank the Lord every day for my cancer remission. And I thank Wendy for the opportunity to share it with you.
Thanks, Bob. Bob, what an amazing story, and it continues to amaze me, all these years, and I actually went to high school with Bob's daughter, so we kind of had that connection way back when, and so it's just amazing to see that particular group. When I first started doing support groups 20 some years ago, just were so inspirational, and Bob will laugh at me, and Frenchie will know this, and so will John to a certain extent, because he came later on to the group. But Bob would come in with his book, his black binder, every week, and he'd write down things, and keep track. He was our kind of our secretary of our support group, but he was organized, to be able to keep us, in the right path. And he really, he used a lot of his skills to fight his cancer, in addition to his, support of his family. But Deborah, I'll let you comment on Bob's story.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted again. Wow, Bob, so you've been doing well for a long time. I mean, since 96, your markers entered into a normal zone. And again, you were doing so many of the factors to turn your health around. Again, what I'm finding very interesting is, again, that love of movement, golf, jogging, having strong reasons for living, keeping your focus on your work despite everything else that's going on around you, having your strong social supports in place, having strong faith in a spiritual connection, being on a prayer list, at church. These are all factors that helped you, I'm sure, helped you to get well and to stay well. And they're all things, again, that you continue, I'm guessing, Bob, you continue to do these things too. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. You are doing, and these are the things that make you feel well today, and keep you healthy. So keep going with this too. Remarkable. These stories are totally remarkable. I wish we could do this for hours and hours and hours and hours, because it just warms my heart to hear these stories. So keep up the good work too, Bob.
Sounds good. So now we move on to Frenchie. And like I said, Frenchie and Bob and John were all from the same group. Frenchie actually was kind of leading the support group when I came in. It's kind of a funny story, right, French? When I was assigned this group and I went in, and they were, I don't know, there must have been 10 of them sitting around a table. And, they said, I said, oh, was the social worker here in the past? And they're like, no, the social worker hasn't been here for months. And I said, what? And Frenchie said, yeah, I've kind of, I've been helping out with the, leading things because we just didn't want to, rock the boat if she didn't show up or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So long story short is Frenchie kind of was helped facilitate this group. And at the end of every group, we would ask if anybody would mind if he could say a prayer for us. And so people that wanted to leave could leave, not to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but those of us that remained, we all held hands at the end of every group, and Frenchie would say a prayer for us. And so he was such an inspiration. So I'm going to intro you to that, Mr. Frenchie, and have you share your story.
Well, thank you, Wendy, for inviting, pardon my voice, inviting me to share in this group. And Bob and John, I don't know if you're still connected, John, but when I saw your face up there, Bob, I tell you what, we go back 22 years. 22 years, you and I go back. We've been going to this group that Wendy facilitates now. And of course, 22 years ago, on July 16th, I contracted bile duct cancer. It's called cholangiocarcinoma. It's a sister cancer to pancreatic cancer, the same as what Wendy mentioned about Wes. The bile duct goes right through the pancreas, and I had the same surgery as Wes did. It's called a Whipple procedure. That was done on July 16th, 22 years ago. And I still, too, suffer from infections and chronic pancreatitis. I just got out of the hospital a week and a half ago with sepsis because of this. But, we're here. And one thing that I can honestly say, what cancer has done to me, it was the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life. But more so, it was the best thing that ever happened in my life. And why that is because up until that time, I was a single father taking care of a 4-year-old son. And I was not living the kind of a lifestyle that would be synonymous with what we would call godly. And when I contracted this cancer, I realized that the kind of friends that I had weren't really friends at all. And my pancreas wouldn't heal. I had a Jackson Pratt drain hanging out of my side that I had the same oncologist as Bob Shaffrey did, Dr. Shogun. And you would have to drain this thing every 4 or 5 hours because pancreatic fluids and blood would continue to come out of it. And I was really getting depressed because I realized if I died, what would happen to my son? And I was just beside myself. I was not a man of faith at the time, although I kind of knew that there was a God, but I knew if he found me, he would kill me for the kind of life I was living. And he sent a man into my office at my business and trying to sell me a cell phone. And I says, no, I'm not interested. And he said, that's okay. And literally, guys, there's a lot of people listening. You probably wouldn't believe this, but this is exactly what happened. He said, that's okay. When I was getting out of my car, I felt God put on my heart that there was somebody in here that needed help, that needed to know Jesus Christ. Is it you? I began to cry because there was nowhere else to turn to. And sure enough, this man prayed over me and he took me to his church that night, and a bunch of men, it was just a gospel church, non-denominational, and these men laid hands on me and prayed for me. And wouldn't you know, after 3 months, Dr. Shogun says, this JP drain, this Jackson Pratt drain, should have come out 10 days after your surgery, and you have it for 3 months. It was not healing. When these guys prayed for me, that thing healed within 29 hours, and it was removed. And I think this was started me on my spiritual journey to realize that there's more to the human being, that we're actually spiritual beings, because something really set me on this journey where I could not get enough of reading God's word, the Bible, and all throughout the Bible, many scriptures that say, who can fathom the unsearchable mysteries of Jesus Christ? We can, and it's through suffering. Everyone who's paying attention to this tonight has suffered to some degree. either themselves or a loss of a loved one or whatever. But one thing we know, that when we suffer, it brings us closer together. It makes us rely on God and the spiritual part of ourselves. A classic example would be John, Bob Shaffrey, myself, and I'm sure many others. After decades of being cancer-free, we still come back here on a night like tonight to share our experiences, to be Jesus with skin on for other people who need hope. And that's what God offers us, is hope. If we place our trust in him, he says, I know the hairs on your head. Well, he knows mine for sure. But he knows everything. There's no chaos in this world. There is not one atom out of place. Otherwise, scientists say one atom would destroy the whole world. We know splitting an atom, what it does, causes a nuclear chain reaction. But what keeps that force all together is the one who created it. And if he created that, he created us. And if he can keep atoms in order, he keeps our lives in order. And that's where we find peace and hope. And we can see a future. You know, I pray for Wes. I can really sympathize what he's going through with the scar tissue, just the constant pains. But you know, we have so much to be thankful for, that we don't even know each other, but there's a love and a bond that's going on tonight that you can't get anywhere else. And it's brought together, all of us together, through a tragedy called cancer. And Wendy, I want to thank you very much for allowing me to come and just to say that. And I've always enjoyed your group over all these years. And God bless everybody. And thank you for listening to me speak.
Wow, I can't even speak words, French. You know, you are just amazing to me, you know, and near and dear to my heart. You know, all of you guys are. So thank you. And Deborah, I pass it on to you.
Okay. Wow. Well, again, Frenchie, 22 years you've been with this group. Wow. What a story. What a journey you've been on, from suffering to feeling joy and wanting to be an example to others that this can be done. And that for you, your deep faith and religious and spiritual experiences have been a huge player, a huge factor in turning every aspect of your life around, including healing. Because when you have all those experiences, again, your body is, when you're having your gratitude, love, and spiritual experiences, your body is actually releasing again all those healing hormones. And you became so involved, so heavily involved in it. Your body must have just been pouring oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine and relaxin and endorphins. You just became a pharmacy of all that, because of the kinds of choices you were making and the kinds of life experiences that you were opening yourself up to. And again, what a wonderful thing to think that you've been this involved with and being so close to all these people for the last 22 years. Heartwarming again. Thank you again for sharing that.
Thanks. Wonderful.
So our last speaker, and let me, we have tonight, and then we can open it up for questions, is another rock star, Stacy Hurt, who has become a dear friend of mine. And she is an advocate for colon cancer, but she is a 5-year survivor of stage 4 colon cancer, and her story is beyond amazing, similar to everybody that's already been told. So Stacy, I will turn it over to you. I have to find you first and there you are. I'll spotlight you.
Oh, whoa. Boy, that really gets you.
It's
See every wrinkle. Holy cow. Hey everyone, I'm Stacy Hurt. Thanks for hanging in there. It is tough to go last, I will tell you, especially to follow Frenchie. I don't even know, I'm gonna have to juggle or do something or do cartwheels to follow that. I mean, that was incredible. as well as everybody who has shared their story so courageously tonight. So I'm blessed and honored to be among all of you. So my story goes back to 2014. And I, at the time, was 43 years old, and I was in great shape. I was an athlete my whole life. And I started having symptoms of abdominal pain, fatigue. I had blood in my stool. I was pooping blood, and I'm not afraid to tell you that. You know, I just felt awful. And so the one thing you have to know about me before I tell my cancer story is that I have a special needs son who has a very rare chromosome disorder that's one of 3 known cases in the world. So my son Emmett is now 14, and he does not walk, talk, or do anything for himself. He wears a diaper. We have to lift him out of bed in the morning, lift him onto the toilet, feed him, medicate him, everything. He is highly immunocompromised, and he is my full-time job. In addition to our older typical son, who is just turned 17. Tough for me to say, but it's good. And so I was consumed with Emmett's care. So I finally went to my primary care physician, and she said, you know, as healthy as you are, all of these symptoms, I think, point to IBS, but I'm going to send you for a colonoscopy just to be sure. So I had a colonoscopy on September 11th, 2014. And the colonoscopy got aborted because the GI found a tumor in my rectum that was so large, it obstructed the rest of my colon. So he stopped the procedure, woke me up, and said, "You have cancer." And I said, "I don't even know how that happens. I do everything right. I don't smoke. I exercise. I'm fit. I have no family history." And I was pretty angry about it and confused. So a myriad of tests later, including a PET scan, revealed that the cancer had metastasized to my liver, 5 spots in my lungs, 19 lymph nodes. Yeah, rectum, liver, lungs, lymph nodes, 27 places. And when I asked Dr. Bahari at UPMC what my chances were of beating it, he didn't answer me. So he said, "I don't have a crystal ball. This kind of just depends on you," which is really not a good answer at all. And so I said, "Well," he said, "this depends on you." I said, "Well, if it depends on me, I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to kick its ass." And that is what I did. So I got my diagnosis on my 44th birthday, which was September 17th, 2014. I underwent chemotherapy for 13 rounds. And immediately I got an exceptional response. My tumor in my rectum shrunk from 11 centimeters to 3 centimeters, then to 2. The spot in my liver cleared. 4 of my 5 lung tumors resolved. I was immediately classified as what's known as an exceptional responder. In addition to the chemotherapy, I enrolled in the UPMC Integrative Oncology program, which encapsulated many of these radical remission, radical hope healing factors. So I already touched on the fact that I exercised and I moved throughout my treatment, either doing yoga or taking walks, finding movement at some way during the day. And I changed my diet. I gave up sugar, alcohol, dairy, processed foods, all of that. I had my vitamin D checked, which they don't tell you to do. So everybody, I tell them, get your vitamin D checked. Mine was in the low range. So I started supplementing my vitamin D. I said the same prayer every single night, which I devised, called thank, ask, pray, praise. So every night when I went to bed, I laid down, and no matter what was going on that day, I thanked God for being alive, and I thanked God for something wonderful in my day. And then I asked him for complete and total healing. I prayed for somebody I knew, and I praised his name. And I still say that same exact prayer every night to this day. And I joined support groups, online support groups for colon cancer. I did everything. I read that list and I'm like, I did everything on here, you know, to the nth power. And so I underwent surgery in April of 2015. And then during my surgery, the surgeon nicked a blood vessel and I went into cardiac arrest and I coded and I almost died. I woke up in the ICU and I saw a clock. So I'm like, there are no clocks in heaven. So I must still be alive. And I saw my husband who told me what happened. So I had to I lost half my blood. So I had to undergo a few transfusions. And I got out of the hospital and I underwent more chemo, 55 chemos, cyberknife radiation on my lung. And this is emotional for me to say because I have a scan tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow I will be 5 years cancer free. So if you do pray, if you dance, if you vibe, if you could please do that for me for tomorrow at 8:45, I would thank you from the bottom of my heart. So my reason for living is my special needs son. He's my whole world, as well as my other son. And I still keep exercising. I still keep praying. I still keep eating clean, a plant-based diet. I still keep embracing all the wonderful things in my life because I got a big job to do. And I just turned 50, which was also emotional. And that was the other thing. I used to walk around chemo and I was like the healthiest person there. And I got pissed off because I'm like, what am I even doing here? Like, I can't even believe I have this much cancer in my body. It's like, I shouldn't even be here. But, you know, as you heard from my colleagues tonight, that's the kind of attitude that gets you through it and gets you over it. So that's my whole story. Everybody who's in the fight, I'm sending you all my love, and you're going to do it. And you're going to live the best life that you can, surviving and thriving through this disease. So.
Okay. I think you need to start a group that you guys have put together called the Kick-Ass Group, because that's something you all share in common. You all kicked ass. And Stacy, your story, that you decided you were determined, I'm going to beat this. I'm not going to let all that cancer that's spread throughout my body take me from what's important for me to be doing in my life. And you kicked ass.
I still am kicking ass every day.
And then at the same time, you do know, as we all know that have been through this, because I know even when I have the most routine tests and scans coming up, my anxiety level goes off the chart, even though it's been many, many years. So, you know, it's okay. It's really okay that our anxiety levels go way up knowing we have these scans. I call it scanxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will be thinking of you at 8:45. I'll be up early. Actually, I'll be up early tomorrow morning. I'll be thinking of you at 8:45. And I'm not going to, specify what you're doing all the factors. And then I bet you didn't even know you were doing all the factors. You're just doing them all.
I didn't until it was funny, that, Jen got me involved in this. And, I'm pulling up as I'm talking, I pulled up the slide of the 10 healing factors. And I was like you said, Deb, I was like, I didn't even know I was doing all these things. I didn't know this was a book. I didn't know this was a thing. So
that's what happened to me in 2014 when the first book came out. And because my diagnosis was in 99 with metastatic cancer. And, so that was many years later when the book came out. So there was no roadmap. And it's just interesting. This is what Kelly Turner's research was all about, is that she found that the people that she interviewed, in terms of asking them, why do you believe you healed? They had very common, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just the first step. Oh, I love that. Martin Luther King. Yeah. Yeah, one step at a time. And again, one baby step at a time. So again, I think you guys should start a new group for your cancer care center called the Kick-Ass Group.
I think it's a great idea.
I
Get the
totally,
t-shirts made up.
I kind of like that. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I got from what a lot of you were, what all of you were telling me. Every single one of your stories is the kick-ass story. And then you actually said that to yourself, Stacey, I'm going to kick ass. Yeah. And then we won't make fun about the fact that you're kicking ass for colon cancer, but.
You know, I will take kicking butt, ass jokes. I love them all. The only one I didn't like, and I got a little sensitive, this meme that was going around social media that was, if 2020 were a test, it would be a colonoscopy. And that one really got on my nerves because I was like, it's tough enough. I'm a big advocate, obviously, for the cause. And it's tough enough to get people to go for colonoscopies, yet alone comparing it to 2020. So like lay off. So I got a little ticked off at that one. But any other ass joke, poop jokes, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. When you go through this thing, when people want to like do stuff to my body now, it's like, no biggie, because I still have to go for all kinds of tests. And it's no biggie anymore. Yeah. And also after childbirth, it's no biggie anymore either. Yeah. Okay.
I
Again,
remember.
thank you again, Stacey, for sharing your story too.
I remember when I first met Stacey about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, and so I'm a breast cancer survivor, so she dubbed us TNA, and I thought that was hilarious. It was. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stacey. That's amazing. It was unbelievable. And so now we're going to turn it over back to Wendy.
So real quick, I know we're, running on time. You guys are all being very patient as I'm watching you all, stay on this. But John actually, who we began this with, he discovered that he did not have a microphone or a camera on his laptop or on his desktop. So I hooked him back onto his iPhone. So I'm really proud of him. So I just want him to say hello. Jen, can you make John on our spotlight video so he can say hi to everyone?
Well, he does what I'm seeing is just a microphone and no, let me see. Hold on for 1 second. I will.
His picture's right, and he's on the third page. I see him.
Oh, okay. That will help.
He's on the same page as Chris Denrich.
So does he have a photo up or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you are. I apologize. It took so long. Hi, John.
Hello.
Thanks for sharing.
I am so. It's going to help me to do these other settings to get in the group. I have thank God and thank you for saying hello. It's been some time since we've been together. I usually have to collect that. I hit a golf game. But seriously, I love all of the studies. And the common threads that we have are believing in Jesus Christ, the belief in the need of the support of our family and friends, financial needs. The third change that has been for us. Those all have been so important. The need for exercise, the loss of life, the enjoying each and every day God gives us, doing the best we can. What examples all of us have been for our family, for our friends. It is an honor to be with this group. The job that Lindsay and Jen do is fabulous. We are so fortunate. Thank you very much, John and all, for this opportunity. And thank you for showing me how to get my picture and able to talk on this. And it's like, yeah, you didn't be aware of it. then he calls me on two different occasions. Son, try this. Son, try that. Do you have the ice cream? Yes. Well, I don't know how to do that. So you have to realize that I was doing, and I think the school, they gave us a slab of currency of slab of string and a hammer and chisel. And this new talk, I just
Hammer.
thank God my son was here and able to walk me through what I had to do. It's been a pleasure to be taken. I thank you. I wish all of the people talking a long life, enjoy each day. It's a gift from God.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
John. It's good to see you.
It's a pleasure. Thank
Yes.
you.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So, I think we'll open it up for questions now. I think that there were a lot in the chat, and I'll try to go back and, actually, I guess we'll take you off of Spotlight and then we'll put everybody up here. We have,
So I see one question says, what is cellular expansion? I'm not sure who said that.
I did, Wendy, and it's kind of like Reiki. They need to look it up on the internet. There's a nice explanation for it. And they were teaching it actually at Current Spirituality Center.
Okay.
They hold classes and then they have the people need to go out and do it for practicum hours, so to speak. And that's how they found me.
Wonderful. That's awesome. I've never heard of that. That may be something we look for a speaker for a group, Lori. That would be awesome.
it looks like a lot of people, we answered a lot during the session. People ended up answering them. Does anybody have, anybody have any, oops, sorry. Does anybody have anything they would like to share?
Is it possible?
Jennifer Wilburn.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. You can go ahead.
I just wanted to say that this was one of the best things I've ever listened to. I was sitting here crying, but there were tears of joy for all those people.
Thank you very much.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have anything?
It was very, very encouraging, especially to those of us who are fairly newly diagnosed. Is it possible that someone who lives out of town could listen to this?
Yeah, we are recording, so we can make it public. And if you just want to email me specifically, it's jen@cancercaring.org, and I'll put that in the chat if everybody can see it. And so you can email me, or I can also give, if you're on Wendy's list, she can email it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see the question about the frozen peas. That was me. Now that was 11 and a half years ago, but the premise was, and I found it online, no one told me, the premise is that if you cool down or freeze down your extremities, it keeps the chemo drug from going in your capillaries or whatever goes in your hands and your feet. And you're not gonna, I already had metastatic disease, but you don't get metastatic disease in your fingertips. You get you get neuropathy. To the point where I shared a chemo room with someone whose neuropathy was so bad, they broke their ankles. So I was like the Clampetts do chemo, and I took 4 bags of frozen peas at $1 a bag. And just when the neuropathy drug came on, was hung, the one that caused the most neuropathy, we kind of watched for it. And then we would secretly put these I would hold the peas and on my hands and put them on my feet. Now, Leslie, are you still on? My college roommate actually is on here. Leslie, are you on? She had chemo today. She tells me.
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, so this is my college roommate.
Hi.
Lives in Florida, but she's new in chemo, and she just had chemo today, so she kind of falls asleep in the middle of her sentence. Don't worry. But tell them what you told me. When I said do frozen peas, you said, no, there's new stuff out there.
There is. There is a thing called cryo gloves and cryo socks. And my husband and I decided to go ahead and invest in them. They're a little pricier than frozen peas, but I think my oncologist told me about it because she didn't want to have peas falling all over the oncology room and the nurses having to do that. But if you look online, Thera gloves, Thera socks, I'll have to look it up, and I can send you, Jen, the information if you want. But
That'd be great.
I just used them today, and I got Taxol, and that's one of the things I did was put on the gloves and the socks. And I'm a guitar player, so I was hoping to avoid the neuropathy if at all possible.
Great.
Yep. Cheers.
I'm sorry, what is it called again? Healthy Hands?
Healthy Hands, and it's a little glove that has an insert that goes in the freezer, and you have to freeze it the night before, and then you take it in. I got 2 sets of the frozen components because they last about an hour and some change, and the Taxol was 3 hours, so they kind of cooled off near the end. But and the same idea, Naomi said, holding ice chips in your mouth to try to avoid the mouth sores. It's the same idea to keep the poison away from your capillaries.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So I wanted Leslie to be an empowered patient. So I was like, I've been sharing all these things, but what's been fascinating is the fact that 11 years later, I told her about this Claritin Aleve, and I'm like, now you may have to just do this secretly. And she's like, Naomi, it's standard of care now. So it's interesting how things have evolved, or things that I dug into are now being done. But I think it's that whole issue of being the empowered patient and saying, hey, what can I do to help myself? Thanks, Les.
Yeah, and we, Erica wrote on here that she ordered her gloves through Amazon. I don't know if they're the same brand, but Erica, if you want to chime in.
Sorry, there it is. Yeah, I found them on Amazon, and I also bought like 2 sets because the medicine does take a while and you want to make sure they're on the whole time. But yeah, Amazon's got a few options.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then there was a question for Lori about, did someone say something about tea tree for fingernails?
I did.
Okay.
I did because I had read, so Google was my friend and Google was my enemy to the point. I mean, my husband would come in and say, you've got to step away from the computer. But I had read, because I kept reading, how can I help myself, that some of the drugs, the chemo drugs that I was on, would cause the ridging and the blackening and the splitting of the nails. And so I'm like, well, geez, I don't want that. So what could I do? So I found somebody that said tea tree oil. So, I mean, I just went to CVS at that point. Now there's essential oils everywhere, but I found a little bottle at CVS and just started every night before I went to bed, put it on all my nails. It only took a minute. And I did not get the ridging or the blackening or the nails falling off. Again, just what can you do to try and help yourself that really the doctors aren't going to tell you about?
And the other beauty of what you're talking about, Naomi, is that there's no harm in any of these things that you guys are coming up with the glove. There's no harm in the tea tree oil. So if you're able to come upon things that are going to be helpful to you, and there's really no harm, and you want to give it an experiment and see if it helps you, you have nothing to lose.
Well, I think that's the point. I mean, was I going to have my nails all drop off in the middle of the night and wake up with no nails, or you know, did it help? Did it help in my head? Did it help or not help? Well, how do we ever know? But I didn't have the problem.
Right, we will never know. And one of the things that we didn't talk about is the placebo effect. And the placebo effect, when we believe something, it's very powerful too. So again, tea tree oil, what harm could come from tea tree oil? If that's going to make a difference in you keeping your fingernails and there's no harm, hey, why not?
Yeah, and there's a comment from Martin, and he says, this is why I joined the support group, to listen to folks who have already been there. I mean, I think all these tips and tricks, you know, because it's so important, you know, a lot of times it's just like all these things adding up that just are crazy and make you crazy. And so to be able to eliminate some of the side effects can make an enormous difference. And it's incredibly helpful. So it's awesome that everybody's sharing these. I think there was another, oh, Mary Lynn, do you have, what brand cold socks do you use?
I don't remember the brand, but I just Googled them, and there's a picture of them. Oh, where'd it go? They also had smiley faces, so that helped.
Oh, those are cute.
They are fun. Do you remember how much did something like that run?
I think they were 30.
Oh, wow.
But they came with the ice packs. And then I also just took other ice packs, because when they started warming up, I would just put ice packs over top of them to keep them cold. They did work. I didn't get any neuropathy with my Taxotere.
Right, and that's what happened for me. Is I used it during that Taxotere, which is that big neuropathy drug. Again, if you can't afford that, just go and buy those peas on sale for $1 a bag, and they'll get you through. I think I had 6 of those chemos with that. So I used them for the first 3, threw them out, and got the next 3. We didn't eat them, but we did get busted by the therapy dog. I don't like dogs. And so they announced that Heinz Ward was coming in the chemo room. And I'm like, whoa, this is a bonus for having cancer, isn't it, to get Heinz Ward in here? And Heinz Ward was the therapy dog, and the therapy dogs, and I always just would pretend I was sleeping so I wouldn't have to deal with the dog, and the dog sniffed out the peas. And so I did finally get busted with my peas.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't bring a frozen steak, Naomi.
Heinz Ward would have been all over that. Oh my gosh, does anybody else have tips or anything they want to share? Any thoughts? There's a ton of chat. I don't know if everybody's able to see the chat, but everybody is just so thankful for this evening, and there's a lot of great you know, comments in here that are just really empowering, and it's just pretty cool that there's so many people. I mean, it's really empowering to see all these stories and to be able to listen to people, you know. So does anybody have any specific questions about anybody's story? No, someone writes, Miso soup wards off radiation effects. That's good.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
That was actually Leslie. I told her to do that, and she was successful eating the miso soup. And I told my radiation oncologist, and he just kind of blew me off. But I had high dose radiation. I had 35 minutes a day for 5 days, and I didn't burn.
Wow.
There you go. I just want to take the opportunity and thank you all again. Jen and I have talked about this for months. This is one of our bucket list kind of things for all of you. And you've really, it's just been so inspirational to everybody, and we can't thank you enough. And I have to thank COVID for this, because I'm not sure this would have all happened if we didn't have COVID, that we had lots of times to be creative and gather you all together. So this is one of those things to be grateful for, that everybody's, you know, sharing for You know, and Stacy, if you could share again, I don't know if you did and I didn't see it in the chat area, the how you say that prayer at night, that would be really great to have in that chat room for everybody again. I think some people have asked for it.
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay.
I did, but I'll repeat it again. Just
Okay.
it is Stacy created. Thank, ask, pray, praise. So you begin your prayer with gratitude. I begin my day. Everything I do, I begin with gratitude. Every interaction I have with somebody, I begin with gratitude. So then I would ask for complete and total healing of my body. I mean, I'm a prayer, I'm a God person. So I would ask God, Jesus, for complete and total healing. I would pray for somebody that I knew who was also in the fight or had something going on. Multiple people usually. And then I would just praise God for everything good around me, everything, all the blessings in my life.
Yeah, I really love that. That's really important. Through COVID, on the groups, the three things I had everybody kind of focus on each day was finding something you find joy in doing, something you find peace, and then something that you're grateful for. So I love that you kind of tied all those things together, and it's a neat thing. So that will be passed on, my dear, and I will make sure that you get credit for it. So thanks, everyone. I'll let Jen sign off for all of us. And please continue if you need anything from us, all of our other services, please call us. We're here for you now and forever.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing your stories. This has been amazing. Yeah, like Wendy was sharing, we worked for a long time on it, and we are particularly grateful to Deborah for giving us 2 nights. It's been amazing, and for everybody that shared their story and everybody that's attended. We have recorded both sessions. I think most of you were on the first session, but if you weren't, you can email me and I can email you the recording. You know, we did record tonight, so if you're interested in just watching this again, I think this would be great just to plug in when you're having a down day, you know, and you just need that little oomph to be able to listen to people, you know, sharing their story and trying, you know, just living through it and living with it is just really powerful. As I did want to thank Heather Malarchik. So I don't know if she's here tonight. She generously gifted all the books to the presenters this week. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. And also we invite you to come to any of our services. As Wendy mentioned at the beginning of the call, we have 32 groups a month. We have a lot of different things. And really what we're trying to do is just become a place to help you live better with cancer. I mean, we can't change the outcome, but we can change the quality of your life. And that's really what we're trying to do. So if you have any suggestions, any thoughts of things that we can do, like Deborah did suggest a badass group, which Wendy and I will be on a call tomorrow morning trying to figure that out. We welcome you to come to any groups. We do have a weekly email that goes out that shows you all of our programs. You can also follow us on Facebook or on our website or Instagram. All of those things, we try to advertise as much as we have going on. We also have groups for caregivers if you have a loved one that's interested. And then we also just invite you to donate if you're interested in helping us to continue our programs. You know, you can donate through the website. If you're interested in just sharing our posts on Facebook and stuff, that really helps because it is a challenging environment, as you all know. And so we just appreciate you being here. This has been a pure joy. I am just lucky to know most of these survivors and just really just feel, incredibly blessed to call them friends. So, I put my email in the chat and just let us know if you need anything, but that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
It was wonderful being with you all the way from Albany. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Deborah, for everything.
Thank you so much.
What are you doing next Wednesday, Deborah?
Actually, I'm facilitating my metastatic breast
Okay.
cancer group. They actually waited for me. Tonight was the night we would normally be meeting.
Aw, well,
So
tell them thank you.
they were willing to be flexible, which was very sweet of them.
Well, we
Yeah.
can send you, here, I'm gonna stop recording. We can send you the recording so that you
I'd love to get the recordings. My sister would love